All right, good evening, everybody. We are resuming our open session. We had an executive session earlier, so we are just resuming our open session at 7 o'clock. But welcome to the Select Board meeting of July 9th. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded by Canton Community Television, and our Vice Chair, Mr. McCourt, is out of town, so he will not be joining us. So first item on the agenda is again public comment. So as I have been doing previously, I will read this statement. The public comment portion of the meeting is an opportunity to listen to residents' feedback and concerns, but the public comment portion of the meeting is not meant to be a question and answer format. There will be no response to any public comment when presented. The public comment portion of the meeting is limited to 15 minutes total and 3 minutes per speaker. I would encourage those that do wish to speak to be mindful of others in the room who wish to do the same, so that we can make the most of the time allotted and hear from as many people as possible. Anyone who does not wish to speak or who is unable to speak due to the time limit may submit their comments in writing for the board's review and consideration. The Select Board will also announce the next open office hours at our next Select Board meeting. So that being said, we will begin our public comment period at 7:01. So, Ms. Smith?
Christine. Policies and ethics of Select Board members. After submitting my comments, Town Administrator Charlie Duty let me know that his office would work on this, and they thought it would make sense to perform a complete update of the administrative code, not just this one section, and that made total sense to me. I offer my sincere thanks to Mr. Duty as well as to Jen Kamalian from the Select Board office for all of their work on this issue. However, the revision to the standards, policies, and ethics seems to have gotten a little derailed. I'm not sure if it was due to an attempt to include other boards, or maybe this is going to fall under the Bylaw Modernization Committee. I'm not sure. But either way, we continue to see that certain Select Board members continue to ignore the spirit of the current guidelines, notably swearing at and threatening to assault an individual on the sidewalk right in Canton Center. I stand here today to renew my request for the Select Board to take action on this matter. You represent the town and all the citizens, not just the ones who voted for you. And yes, as public officials, you are held to a higher standard. This continued behavior reflects poorly on the town and has the potential to expose the town to liability. To be clear, this is not about the Reed case or any other matter. It is about leadership and leading by example. It is disingenuous to sit there and object to lack of civility when one of your own members acts in an uncivil manner with no comment or consequences from the rest of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Hello, Canton. I'd like to reintroduce myself. My name is Colleen O'Neill, where I formerly worked at F&F Power Equipment on Walpole Terrace in Canton, Mass, alongside my longtime boyfriend, Jeffrey Farrington, a longtime Canton resident, whose father retired as captain of the Canton Fire Department. Recently, we were informed by the town secretary, Charles Duty, that our case regarding commercial vehicles parked overnight was on the agenda. Today, an executive session that was held at 6:15 p.m. tonight was held to discuss litigation concerning Walpole Terrace. Despite enduring significant harassment while working in Canton, Massachusetts, I have since moved my career to Boston, specifically working on Mass Ave, known as Massencast, where individuals facing severe drug addiction and dual diagnosis mental health disorders reside on the streets. The ongoing harassment from Canton, including unjust fines, unwarranted visits from a sexual predator, Canton cop, Eric Wade, and personal property issues involving another corrupt Canton officer, Charles Ray, who altered zoning regulations in 2016, has compelled me to leave the area. I now collaborate directly with the Massachusetts state government to provide housing for people with severe mental health illness. I have reached out to Governor of the Massachusetts, Maura Healey, and Boston Mayor Michelle Wu regarding Jeffrey Farrington's property on Walpole Terrace, proposing the construction of 40B housing for housing undocumented immigrants. The town of Canton has caused immense emotional distress to our business and personal lives over the past 13 years. Tonight, I speak out in hope that Canton residents will support a small business that has thrived for over 3 decades, contributing to taxes and community welfare. It is crucial to recognize that 40B housing in Canton, Massachusetts is our last option to halt this relentless cycle of lawsuits, police misconduct, and unfair fines that plague running a business in Canton, Massachusetts. This clown town of Canton has caused nothing but harassment to a small business and caused extreme emotional distress to Jeff's and I personal relationship. This harassment needs to end.
Mr. Cole.
Sean Colburn. Mr. Chairman, I would like to address some questions I have for you guys, since we weren't afforded the opportunity 2 weeks ago to address items that were listed on an agenda with the reappointment of the police chief. And I had planned on going through and asking each one of you guys how you voted and what you some of the questions you asked her were. How was the determination decided on to reappoint Helena Rafferty to a one-year contract? Did you interview and assess her performance one-on-one, or was it done as a group? Does the chief recognize the missteps that have occurred in the Canton Police Department investigation and the death of Officer John O'Keefe? Can you tell us what some of the questions you asked her were? What, if anything, did you ask her about her department's lack of following proper procedures and policies? What, if anything, did any of you ask her about the importance of interviewing, separating witnesses, and recording witness statements? What, if anything, did you ask her about the collection of evidence, the proper storage of evidence, and the chain of command on evidence collection? What, if anything, did you ask her about recognizing and adhering to conflicts of interest? You know, such as when the chief at the time, Chief Berkowitz, called District Attorney Michael Morrissey's office at 8:30 a.m. on January 29th and talked about the Canton Police Department recusing themselves because of a conflict of interest. When through testimony, we learned that the Canton Police Department actually did not adhere to this recusal. We had a Canton police officer, Kevin Albert, arranging witness interviews days later after they were recused. At 8:30 a.m. on the 29th, the state police took control of this investigation. Why were the Canton police officers in the Sallyport at 5 p.m. on January 29th? And why was an ATF agent also in the Sallyport? The ATF has no jurisdiction on this case at all. Yet Brian Higgins was allowed to be there. Who were the 3 officers that were not identified at 34 Fairview? Did any of you ask her how an inverted videotape was turned in as evidence? Did any of you ask her how 40 minutes is missing off the Sallyport video? How about the library video? And what, if anything, was done in regards to the testimony in the text messages read from State Police Sergeant when they were driving around the Cape in a State Police cruiser, shitface, and the Canton police officer, Kevin Albert, lost control of his badge and his gun? Were they ever recovered? Was there any disciplinary action taken? I think these are just a few of the things that come to mind. This is your job to ask these questions, not mine. We are the taxpayers of this community. We should have been afforded the opportunity to ask these questions 2 weeks ago on an item that was listed as an agenda item. You were in violation of mass open meeting law. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. O'Donnell?
The American Revolution began in 1775 as an open conflict between the United 13 colonies and Great Britain. Many factors played a role in the desires to fight for independence. Not only did these issues lead to a war, but they also shaped the very foundation of the United States of America. The Americans felt that they should have equal rights to the Englishmen. The British, on the other hand, thought that the colonies were created to be used in the ways that best suited the Crown and the Parliament. This seems a lot like our current reality in Canton. This conflict embodied in one of the rallying cries of the American Revolution: no taxation without representation. To me, this sounds like our current day Canton. While we pay all our taxes, Our services, leaders, and police departments only service the entitled, selected few, while those entitled in our governance try to silence our concerns. Another driving force behind the revolution was an outcry against the judicial system that was in place, offering yet another airy comparison, ironically enough, involving 6 British soldiers. After 6 British soldiers were acquitted and 2 dishonorably discharged for the Boston Massacre, the British government changed the rules. From then on, officers accused of any offense in the colonies would be sent to England for trial. This meant that fewer witnesses would be on hand to give their accounts of the events and led to even fewer convictions. Wouldn't it be nice to watch Proctor's hearings for his indiscretions? This makes matters even worse. Jury trials were replaced with verdicts and punishments handed down directly by colony judges. Over time, the colonial authorities lost power over this as well, because the judges were known to be chosen, paid, and supervised by the British government. Again, dauntingly familiar. The right to a fair trial by jury of their peers was no longer possible to many. John Adams once said, "Facts are stubborn things, and whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or the dictates of our passions, they cannot alter the state of the facts and the evidence." What frightens me most is even after watching the same trial for 10 weeks, so many still blindly trust and follow the corrupt and avoid the facts and evidence that would have convicted Karen Reed. There is lack of it. To bring justice for John O'Keefe, rather, they chose to keep supporting those who have factually been proven to be corrupt and dirty.
Thank you, Ms. O'Donnell.
To those
Ms. O'Donnell, that's it.
who find our fight for
O'Donnell,
truth,
I'm going to ask you to
justice,
settle down.
and our American rights
I'm going to ask you to leave,
so
Ms. O'Donnell.
unacceptable to tonight. I
Officer.
quote Captain John Paul Jones, 1779. "I have not begun to fight."
Thank you, Ms. O'Donnell.
I'm following the rules. We live in America, dude. Question up
I-
on history.
Ms. O'Donnell, please.
He's talking to me, but I will stay quiet. No need to leave. Exercising my First Amendment.
Ms. O'Donnell.
Okay, I'm going to speak. I'm going to speak now.
Ms. O'Donnell, you're being disruptive to the meeting. I'm asking you to leave. Thank you. Thank you.
I have nothing to leave for. I haven't broken any laws.
Okay,
I'm answering you. I said I would stand here quietly. I will stand here quietly.
she only went over a few minutes, a minute. Okay, I'm going to, come on, we're in crisis for crying out loud. I know it's my imagination. I know it's my imagination.
All right, folks, please be respectful. Ms. Lombardi, this is it.
Yes, thank you. Okay, listen, Rita Lombardi, and I can't believe I'm standing here about to say what I'm going to say. My ancestry goes back in this town to the very early 1900s, and I've always had respect for the Canton Police and the Fire Department because my ancestors served on them proudly, and I always admired them. And I'm shocked that I'm having this discussion right now. But anyways, the issues that we've had in town relate to safety and trust issues. And last week or whatever, you approved the police chief's contract, and many of us were opposed to that. And I just want to share some of the reasons why we have trust issues here. In 2018, the Canton Police Department responded to a car accident on Pleasant Street near Meadows, but did not locate the driver. An hour or so later, a passerby located the body of Craig Casey. This last year, when questioned by a concerned citizen, Chief Rafferty's response was, it wouldn't have made a difference to his survival. Instead of owning this failure, that was her explanation. In 2021, the Canton Police Department ruled Sandra Birchmore's death a suicide. It was recently confirmed that Sandra was in fact murdered, something many citizens already knew. Yet there has been zero acknowledgement of this policing failure by Chief Rafferty or an apology to Sandra's family that I am aware of. In 2022, the Canton Police Department responded to the scene of Officer John O'Keefe's murder. The mishandling of the crime scene, the investigation, and the evidence collection was gross incompetence at best and will be taught in criminal law classes for decades to come on how not to handle a murder crime scene. Instead of Chief Rafferty addressing these performance issues with appropriate corrective action, many, if not all involved, have been promoted. In any organization, rewarding poor performance not only damages employee morale, it increases employee turnover, both of which are extremely costly. Canton PD has an 18% turnover in the past 2 years. Oftentimes, it is your best employees who seek employment elsewhere, not the performance problem. If unchecked, your organization will continue on a downward spiral. In the John O'Keefe murder trial, we learned that it was Chief Rafferty who turned over the Sallyport surveillance video to the Mass State Police. We also learned that in addition to 42 minutes missing from this footage and people disappearing from the screen, and the footage was inverted, something no one has ever heard of in their life. 6 weeks it took her to report the February accident, which almost cost the man his life. And now we're being sued for that. And we're going to get sued for all these other cases as well. Policies and procedures are great, but there's no consequences when they're not followed. Just rhetoric that we'll do better next time. That just doesn't cut it. The Canton Police Department and this town is facing countless and costly lawsuits as a result of their actions. We do not feel safe. And that is why. Okay, I'm not speaking for you because you're part of the selected few. I'm talking about me, common folks. I'm talking about me, the random citizen. That's who I'm talking about.
Thank you, Ms.
Anyone
Lombardi.
who's related to the McGalberts, you're safe, but not us.
Thank
So
you, Ms.
stop it.
Lombardi.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Running over here. She's getting yelled at and yelling. And you stand right here.
Ms. O'Donnell, Ms. O'Donnell, you said you were going to be quiet. You got disruptive. It is time for you to leave. Ms. O'Donnell, it is time for you to leave.
All right, can we just start our meeting? What are we doing with her?
Ms. O'Donnell,
You ran over here while I was speaking out of turn. She just sat there screaming at the crowd, and the crowd screaming back at her, and you stay here. No, I'm not. It is inappropriate. No, it's inappropriate. I'm pulled the law the way it's intended to be upheld.
Can we just start our meeting?
I'm upset because I feel unjustly. No, you're standing in front of me while everyone else does the same thing.
Ms.
See that?
Ms. O'Donnell, you're meeting. It's time for you to go.
I'm right, though. I may be disrupting the meeting, but I'm right. That's my fucking right.
Thank you, Ms. O'Donnell. Thank you.
Fucking Americans, people. Remember it. Damn it.
No.
Thank you, Ms. O'Neill.
Oh, shit.
Simple as that. If you're gonna talk to somebody else in the back room, both of you go outside and have your conversation outside. Thank you.
Thank you, officer. All right, before we get on to the next agenda item, we have two statements to read. So, Mr. Albert, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Okay, as many of you know, I've had two recent verbal altercations with members of the public outside of my role as a select board. Despite the tremendous harassment, stress, and anxiety that my family, extended family, and I have been subjected to over the past 16 months, my interactions were inappropriate, and as an elected official, I am held to a higher standard, and I understand that the residents of Canton expect public officials to always conduct themselves professionally and focus on the business of the town. I apologize for my recent reaction and will refrain from any further public incidents that are unbecoming as a member of this Canton Select Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. An additional statement, Chief Rafferty has placed Kevin Albert on paid administrative leave while an outside, and please be quiet, while an outside independent investigation is being conducted relative to his actions in a case he investigated with Michael Proctor approximately 2 years ago. Kevin Albert was placed on leave on June 13th and will remain on leave until the results of the investigation are provided by the outside independent investigator. All right.
All right, first on the agenda for tonight, Mr. Scollins and Mr. Lynch, want to step forward? Oh, yeah.
What's that?
No.
No, it's Scollins and Lynch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you guys are right.
Okay.
That's all right, he can go first. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. Town Administrator. This is the time of the year annually where we're closing the books for fiscal '24, which closed on June 30, 2024. And as is typical at year end, there are some reserve fund transfers that are required in order to balance the books to keep everything within appropriations. It's a two-part process. It's a vote of the select board, and then tomorrow night we have a vote of the finance committee as well. And we have $600,000 as the reserve fund budget for the entire year. And I typically wait until the end of the year to see where those funds are needed, because typically problems that are raised during the year resolve themselves for the most part. So we get to the end of the year and we just have three such budgets that need some budget relief from the reserve fund transfer. The first one you heard about at your last meeting is the school budget, where you had voted funds from the SPED reserve account. And we had also mentioned that we would likely be back at your next meeting for a request for $425,000 from the reserve fund to finally balance the school budget for fiscal '24. And Brian, if you want to.
Yeah, not too much to add other than, over the last few weeks, me and my staff have done a lot of work and taking a deep dive to make sure that, everything is tied up. And unfortunately, we're still in the position where we need these funds to fully balance out '24. So, I hope for a positive vote here, which will allow us to close out the year successfully and move forward into FY '25.
All right. Do we have any questions for Mr. Scollins or Mr. Lynch? All right. If not,
All right, I move that the board support the request for fiscal year end 2024 reserve fund transfers for $425,000 for the extraordinary school sped costs and associated transportation expenses at the request of the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations.
Second.
motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
4-0.
So thank you. Just two other items. They fall in essence within the same department, town clerk and elections and registration, registrars. So as you know, we had an unscheduled special town meeting this past November that was unplanned for budgetarily. And then, as you're also aware, the town was required to expand from 6 to 7 precincts, which required extra efforts and costs associated with holding elections. So as a result, that impacted the elections and registrars budget the most. They're in need of $12,000 to balance that budget, and the town clerk's budget requires $4,000 in order to balance that one. So $12,000 is being requested for elections and registrars, and $4,000 for town clerk expenses for those unanticipated items this past fiscal year.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Scollins on those two additional items? Hearing none. Mr. Albert?
All right, I move that the board support the request for $12,000 for elections and registrars expenses related to an unplanned special town meeting in November 2023 and the new requirement to expand from 6 to 7 voting precincts, and the request for $4,000 for town clerk expenses related to an unplanned special town meeting in November 2023 at the request of the finance director.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 4-0.
Thank you. And just wanted to footnote, so that totals 441,000 out of a budget of 600,000. So we'll have 159,000 that will drop out to free cash as a result of that, assuming the Finance Committee has concurring votes tomorrow night. And I just also wanted to recognize all my fellow department heads for the excellent job in stewardship that they have provided throughout fiscal '24 in managing their appropriations, their budgets within their appropriations and providing the services that they have. So kudos to my fellow department heads.
All right. Thank you guys for all your hard work on
Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Brian.
balancing those budgets.
All right, thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Is Steve here?
I don't know if Steve's here.
Just ask if there's a representative from the party there.
Who?
Should I
All right.
say that? I'll wait.
Anybody.
I'll wait. I'll wait.
All right.
Okay.
Next, Mr.
All right,
Albert.
next on the agenda, consider the request from the Revere and Son Heritage Trust for land use of the entire park to hold a region-wide sale on Saturday, 24th, 2024. Steve's here, I see him now, 1 PM to 4 PM. And Steve's here to discuss these next two items.
Good evening.
Schottenfeld, a board member of the Revere and Son Heritage Trust, the nonprofit that manages the Paul Revere Heritage Site. The board prides itself on bringing together the entire region to learn about the region's history and potential and just to have fun. May's Canton Heritage Festival was visited by an estimated 2,500 people from Canton, the surrounding towns, and from as far away as Connecticut to enjoy the day. I'm here today to ask the Select Board for permission to use the site for 2 more upcoming events that are in the same vein. The first of the 2 will take place on Saturday, August 24th from 1 to 4 p.m. with a rain date of August 25th for a region-wide yard sale and fundraiser. Our theme will be something like, if your kids don't want it, sell it. We're asking permission to use the entire park for 10 by 10 spaces that will be offered to the public for a nominal $30 fee, which will be a contribution to the trust. Shoppers can be dropped off in the site's parking lot and then will be directed to park at no fee at the Canton Center MBTA lot, then walk to the site. On the same day, the barn, the yellow barn there, will be open all day thanks to a grant from the Highland Street Foundation, whose popular August Adventures program provides funding for major destination museums in the region to open for a day at no charge to the public. Just some of the museums that will open their doors for free on other days in August include the MIT Museum, Boston's Institute of Contemporary Art, Boston's Museum of African American History, and the Worcester Art Museum. So we're in good company. The second of the 2 events will be the 3rd annual family concert on September 22nd from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Like last year's concert, which drew families from over 30 miles around. This year's concert will again feature the wildly popular Toe Jam Puppet Band and include games and activities for young children from 3 to 4 years of age. The concert will be from 4 to 5 p.m. weather permitting. The activities and the concert will take place on the trust-controlled land on the southeast of the barn building on the site. In case of inclement weather, as happened last year, the activities and concert will be moved into the barn. As this concert is provided free to the community, we're requesting a waiver of the entertainment permit fee.
Thank you. Mr. Schottenfeld, have the neighbors been notified of the
They will
yard
be,
sale?
yes.
They will
once we
be?
approve.
Any other questions for Mr. Schottenfeld? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll take the first one. The first one is, I move that board approve the request from the Revere and Son Heritage Trust for land use of the entire park to hold a region-wide yard sale on Saturday, August 24th, 2024, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And then the rain date will be August 25th, 2025.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Mr. Duty, do we need anything with police or fire approval or
Yeah, it'll be
building?
pending building commissioner, police and fire.
Okay, so just a friendly amendment to that pending police and fire approval. So do I have a second to the friendly amendment?
Yes, second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. 4-0. Next, Mr.
All
Albert.
right, the next is, I move that the board approve the request for entertainment permit from the Revere and Son Heritage Trust to hold the Toe Jam Puppet Band event on the lawn next to the museum building on Sunday, September 22nd, 2024. Now, Mr. Schottenfeld, you said 4 to 5, but we have it at 3 to 6, so.
It's 3 to 6. The concert itself will be
Is-
from 4 to
Okay,
5.
all right. So from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and to waive the $50 entertainment fee.
And again, same friendly motion contingent upon police and fire approval.
I should have added that.
That's all right. Do I have a second to that?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Schottenfeld.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
All right.
All right. New business.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Albert.
All right, first, I move that we consider approving, well, first, consider approving the personnel service contract for the conservation agent.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the personal service contract for the conservation agent. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. 4-0.
Next, I consider approving the maintenance electrician job description.
Do I have a second for that? Motion has been made and seconded to approve the maintenance electrician job description. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
4-0.
So next on the agenda, consider the approval of secondhand jewelry and electronics permit for precious metals reclaiming service. I move that the board approve secondhand jewelry and electronics permit for precious metals reclaiming service.
Okay. Do I have a second for that?
Second with the question.
All right. Mr. Conley?
This isn't, we've approved these in the past with the condition that this doesn't become a pawn shop, correct?
I
You
can't,
want to just make sure that it's not. gonna
yeah, I
become a
don't know
pawn
the
shop?
answer to that question. I didn't.
Okay. I just want to check with Eddie, and I approve it conditionally, but I don't want a pawn shop, I can't.
So this is a permit renewal for the business, so I assume it still falls under that, but yeah, Mr. Duty, if you can just check on that.
Yes, I will. I'm looking at the application. I don't see anything about a pawn shop, so.
Thank you.
So motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
So next, consider the appointment of the select board representative to the bylaw modernization committee.
All right, so I had expressed an interest in this as well, as did Ms. Boyden. We did rock, paper, scissors, and I came out on top there. So I would entertain a motion that the select board chair is the select board representative to the bylaw modernization committee.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ms. Boyden. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
Next on the agenda, consider the appointment in Parks Recreation seasonal staff, Kyle Downing.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
All right, next on the agenda, consider the appointment of election workers Carol Ayotte, Mary Ellen Beckett, Don Kuchar, and Evan Patton. I move that we appoint all 4 of these workers.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
4-0.
Next, to consider the appointment of school rep to Cable Advisory Committee, Brian Lynch. I move that the board appoint the school committee member, Brian Lynch, to the Cable Advisory Committee.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. So this is just, there is a school rep to this committee, and with Brian Lynch coming on board, he is the being appointed to this. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
4-0.
Next is to consider the appointment of member to the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee, Desmond Summerall.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
4-0.
Next is to consider the appointment of the Canton Veterans Council, William Gamble. I move that we approve William Gamble to the Veterans Council.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
4-0.
Okay, next is to consider accepting and authorizing the use of the gift in accordance with the terms there under Mass General Law 44 subsection 53A, the grant of $50,000 from Outfront Media for Shawmut and Route 95 locations.
I second that.
So, so that's not a motion. So do you have the motion?
Yep. I move that the board accept and authorize the use of the gift in accordance with the terms there under Mass General Law 44 subsection 53A, the grant of $50,000 from Outfront Media for Shawmut and Route 95 locations.
Second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
All right, next on the agenda, I move that the board approve water and sewer commitment final bills in the amount of $13,000, $832.70.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
4-0.
Next on the agenda, I move that the board approve the water and sewer commitment residential in the amount of $3,529,000, $746.05.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
4-0.
All right, next on the agenda, I move that the board approve the cemetery lot perpetual care deeds.
You can
Second.
that. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
4-0.
All
I'm going to
right,
need a
next.
second every time. So whoever's-
Taking turns.
All right, next we have the vendor warrant total for the week of 6/28/2024, $1,143,000, $776.53.
Ready? No, that's,
No.
no,
No.
It's 7/5/24.
What am I at the wrong?
I think so.
Yeah, you got the wrong.
Do I?
Yeah, that's not right. Oh, it's a little different.
Otherwise, that's different.
The week of, because you're reading the week of 6/28, right?
Yep.
No, I thought it said,
On the-
do I have
on
it
the
wrong?
Of 7/5, so. Oh, do you know why that 6/28 is highlighted on here?
That what?
Do you know why
Yeah.
6/28 is
That's
highlighted
weird.
on it? We're supposed to,
Because it went on after, it was an
So we have to-
add-on, but.
we have to read this one too.
Yes, you do.
All right, yes. you
Yeah,
have
so
to-
I'm reading
you-
both
of
Yeah,
them.
you're going to read them all. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yep.
see this.
All right.
Okay.
So next is the payroll warrant total for the week of
Mine says-
6/28/2024, $1,565,335.75.
I swear to God.
Next is the vendor warrant total for the week 7/5/2024, $9,844,218.85. The next is the payroll warrant for the week of 7/5/2024, $342,741.74.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I could just clarify something on the vendor warrant for the week of 7/5, it's $9 million and change. That's unusually high. If you've been following this along, it's an unusually high number. I just wanted to let you know that that is high because that includes our payment to the Norfolk County Pension System
Yep.
that we have to do annually.
Yep.
And the amount of that payment is $7.57 million. That's the bulk of that,
Yeah.
that number. So the finance director pays it one time, and as opposed to paying two separate payments to save what the fee would be, which is roughly saves the town $141,000 to pay it.
Yep.
One lump sum.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, I move that the board approve the minutes from the select board meeting of June 11th, 2024.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes from June 11, 2024. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
4-0.
Next up is the town administrator update.
Just a couple of things, Mr. Chairman. The Bylaw Modernization Committee was established under Article 30. The moderator had some appointments to make to 2-year terms, and he made those appointments. So the appointments from the moderator are Mr. George Camo, Dr. Susan Harrington, Mr. William Kring, Ms. Gilda McGonigal, and Mr. Paul McAuliffe. In addition to those folks, the moderator appointed, the article called for certain municipal employees to be part of that committee. And so in addition to those folks, Jennifer Chameleon will be representing the town administrator's office. William Scollins will represent the finance department as the finance director. Lou Jutras will represent information systems. And Mike Lochran was voted tonight to represent the select board. So that committee is established and should get up and running this month, I assume. And then one more notice, just public notice. We do have many positions available on various committees. And this notice will be printed in the paper so folks can see what's available. It'll also be on our website, and folks can go on the website and apply for these positions. But I want to just briefly run through them. Cable Advisory Committee, we have a vacancy. The Canton Cultural Council, we have 8 vacancies. The Comprehensive Water Resource Management Plan is a vacancy. Commission on Disabilities, a vacancy. Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion has a vacancy. Economic Development Commission has a vacancy. Energy Advisory Committee, a vacancy. Historical Commission, an alternate member. As alternate members, there are 2 positions. Paul Revere Heritage Trust has 2 vacancies. The Permit Advisory Committee has a vacancy. The Reservoir Pond Advisory Committee has a vacancy. The Sustainability Committee has 5 vacancies. The Veterans Council has 7 vacancies. And finally, the Water and Sewer Rate Policy Committee has 1 vacancy. So if anyone's interested in any of those committees and would like to volunteer, please check the website, and you can apply to serve on any of those committees.
Thank you, Mr. Duty. I have to say, I'm shocked that you didn't bring up the Canton Fire Department's recent accolades.
Well, I don't want to steal their thunder. I'm sure they'll be putting a
All
press
right,
release out.
so as not to steal their thunder, can you reach out to Chief Robery?
Sure.
And Mr. Reardon, and see if they're willing to come in and
Certainly.
receive some accolades for that?
I
at
will
the next
certainly do
meeting?
that. Yep. I still have the number.
Yeah, I figured that. I figured you still knew some people there. All right. Next, Mr. Albert?
Unless I think that's it.
Next meeting?
Next
Oh,
meeting.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
I
that's it.
apologize.
That's all right.
The Select Board will hold its next meeting Tuesday, July 16, 2024, 7 PM at the Sala Meeting Room, Memorial Hall, 801 Washington Street.
Thank you very much. I have a motion to adjourn at 7:42.
So moved.
Motion has been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Have a good evening, everybody. Stay cool.
Phew.